shows 2, 3, sometimes 5 a day. We're in our 27th straight week of doing Zoom. I'm tired of doing Zoom.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I miss being in the studio, but not everybody can come to the studio for one. But also, we don't want everybody coming because that's way too much.
Yeah.
So, I'm making sure that we do specific people. So with that, going back to, I forgot when you said that we lived together back in the Palisades. I forgot all about that until you mentioned that, and I had flashbacks of things. This is, Casey, this is the home video area at this point.
Yeah.
This is before we had home video.
Giant,
Exactly.
big cameras.
No, we were renting martial art movies, and we were watching everything, and which is where a lot of his love came from, but he had it before he came to California.
Yeah.
Continue on your story to who you met.
Jeez. When I first got out here, I had the intent to, because when you are a martial artist, you want to. I came out here to study martial arts. You have two choices: go to East Coast or West Coast, because that's where all the immigrants come from. Of course, I went West Coast. That's where Bruce Lee was from, and I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. When I was in college, I had a Bruce Lee poster above my bed with the nunchucks, and I watched every movie there could be Bruce Lee, Bruce Lie, and every form of Bruce Lee's name there was with some imitator doing his thing. One of the first people I got out here with was with Sensei Benny Urquidez, and at the original Jet Center, training with him and finding my way through that. Then I connected with Pete Cunningham, which was one of his top students. Pete was 8-time world champion in Muay Thai kickboxing, one of the only guys back in the 90s that was fighting in Thailand and winning.
Yep.
And coming back here. And the best way to describe Sensei Peter is Sugar Ray Leonard with kickboxing.
Dang.
I mean, nobody moves that way. If anybody knows any type of martial artist, Bill Superfoot Wallace was known for his kicking. Petey was like Bill with his feet, and his hands were like Sugarfoot. I mean, he would stick his tongue out at people, shuck and jive, and move, and smack you upside the head before you knew, left or right.
He was fast.
He was amazingly fast. But through my journey, I ended up being his sparring partner for 2.5 years. So I stopped taking classes and just started banging every day. And that was the closest. My idea was, it wasn't that I wanted to be world champion. It was, I was always a little guy. Always little. And my thing was, I want to know how to take care of myself. And Muay Thai and kickboxing was the closest thing I could get to with, fighting, other than fighting in the street every day and coming home, or going to the hospital.
Yeah.
And Muay Thai is known as the art of 8 limbs. So you've got that, plus coupled with Western boxing. Truly amazing, but I spent 2.5 years with him. Shortly after that, I ran into and met one of my major mentors, Richard Makowitz, known as Mac. Mac had a TV show called Future Weapons for about 5 years on the History Channel. Mac was a Navy SEAL, was a sniper in the SEAL teams, and was a hand-to-hand combat instructor. I was his chief instructor in his hand-to-hand combat system. And he had a very unique spin on that, because it wasn't about just teaching how to hurt people. His the big arch was, I want to teach people how to focus like a Navy SEAL. We use combat as a metaphor, understanding how to hit a target. The same focus you need to go after somebody in a confrontation is the same focus you actually need in the business room, or as a student taking a math class. You start learning that focus is focus.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is what comes in between you hitting the target. What comes up mentally, what comes up physically, what stops you from moving forward, whether it's in the fashion industry. You run into all kinds of things, I'm sure, that could stop you, stymie you. And how many people have really got your back on that? How many people really come up to you and go, oh my God, you're the one, I'm going to take care of you. We've all heard that. People blowing smoke up your ass. A lot. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? Okay.
Yeah, you can now.
You can now. Sorry. But how many people, and we've all been out in LA, and LA is known for, it eats people. It eats people and spits them back out. Eats people and spits them back out. So if we're all sitting at this table, I assume we've been here a while. We've been through the grinder. We've earned the right to sit here.
Yeah.
And again, in any of these industries, how many people are actually there that really have your back, or are they more interested in what they can get from you? Again, designer, SpaceX. I mean, that's amazing. But how many people, especially in the design business, are going, oh yeah, we got you, we want this. They want something from you. They're not really interested in you. And that's a whole different place to come from.
Yeah.
But again, that concept of how to focus to get what you want out of life was what Richard was transpiring and trying to get people to understand through his combat. And I've taken that and I've now adapted it to my own system called Armor Up Self-Protection, which I've simplified it down so that anybody can take care of themselves. which is always what I wanted to do. Smartly, quickly, and again, efficiently. You don't have a lot of time in these situations. The police aren't coming to save you.
Yeah.
You are there for you. And in any case, the fashion, the modeling, what Brian does, you are it. Nobody's coming to save you. You make it or break it based on what you do and how you do it. And you keep grinding away at it, and you keep reshaping it, you keep changing it, you keep reaching out, and sooner or later, people start gravitating to you. They start to see, this guy's serious. He's got moxie, he's got guts, he's got staying power. That's the difference. And I've got some young kids that I coach, and I love mentoring the young kids because nothing gives me greater pride than to see someone succeed again and again and again. Taking what I teach them, and they take that to school, they take that to college, they take that to, the next business they go to. It's truly amazing to see people succeed. So what I teach is much more of a mental mindset than anything else, whether I'm teaching, personal training, coaching that way, or I'm teaching Armor Up. A lot of it is just coaching, getting into someone's head, getting them to understand what's the block, why aren't you succeeding, what's limiting you, and then how do we move past that? How do we crush that? Because fear doesn't really exist. It is just a thin veil in your brain. The only thing stopping you is you.
I like the fact that, how you were teaching, I go back to women. For our co-hosts, they're all women. And I always wanted to make sure, and I told Chris, when we go back to Tennessee or where we're going, he's coming with us. Because there's so much stuff that has to be done, and there's just too many wacky things going on out there. And you've already seen a lot of this stuff. Talk about, do you end up in the Hall of Fame?
I did end up in the Hall of Fame.
Talk about that, that's important.
The USAA Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I was voted in by a name of Jacob Bressler. Jacob is this, I don't want to say old, but he's an old Jewish guy.
Yeah.
But he is ex-Israeli military special forces. He worked for El Air doing air marshaling. He is one of the baddest men I've ever met in my life. Jacob Bressler. Not only that, but he's also a producer and director. So he's a multi-talented guy. And you would meet him, wonderful, sweet guy. And I worked on a movie with him with one of my heroes, Olivia Gruner, who was a professional Muay Thai fighter at the time. And then he made the transition into movies. And he's got, 20 or 30 or 40, B-running movies. And it was a dream of mine. Just happened to get to work with him. I knew him from other people, got to work with him a couple times. We're at some place up at Griffith Park, and some giant mansion that has not fake wood pillars, but actual solid wood, oak pillars, and watching Sensei Jacob. And the man has knuckles that are inch on each side, and he walks up this thing and he taps it, tap, tap, wham, tags the thing, and I'm like, okay. Because anybody else, you break a hand, he's like, not bad. He's judging the wood, how hard is the wood? Wow. Not like is he gonna break, but is the wood gonna break?
Yeah.
Wow.
You see him smacking, and he's like, not bad, and he goes walking off.
Wow, man.
Everyday occurrence, man. You're like, wow. But he's the one that voted me into the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame.
Congratulations. Well earned on that.
Thank you. That was in 2017. Truly an honor to be, elevated to that height, because I don't see myself that way a lot of times. I really don't see myself as maybe the way someone else sees me. And it's harder when you have to start realizing that's who you are, And years ago I took a personal survey with some friends. I'm like, hey, well, how do you see me? And I was surprised to find out that it's not what I see, Walking into a room, it's not what's in my head, it's what you see. I used to have a good friend that was a caterer, not the caterer, craft service on the TV show Scrubs. And I would go visit him often. And it was at this hospital off of Riverside Drive in Whitsett. And I didn't know. I went walking on there, and every day I go and say hi to my buddy Drew, and I eat my orange chicken and hang out with him on the set. And, we go play around the hospital, see the sets, and he shares with me a tale one day. He's like, the transpo guys keep asking who you are. I'm like, really? And, he goes, yeah, because they're kind of afraid of you. I'm like, why? I'm like, why? I'm like, me? He goes, yeah. He goes, the first time they asked, they said, well, who is he? He says, he's one of my best friends. He goes, that guy looks like he'd kill somebody. And I don't realize that about myself. So I have to actually work at making, myself more friendly and go, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? And as a young man, I can remember, my early 1920s, You know, I wanted to be seen as, I want to be intense. I want people to see me as intense. I don't want people to mess with me. And I realized over time now that you don't have to walk around being overly intense. You know, I can't think of a polite way to say this. But eyeballing somebody. You know, you walk down the street and there's those tough guys. We all see them.
Yeah.
You know, they're yoked out, whether they're gym guys or fighters, and they just got that look like, you know, pit bulling, just, you know, like they're looking for a fight. You don't have to be that way. Being confident that's not confident.
Yep.
It really doesn't expose confidence to the world. You know, people are more afraid of you. But that's not what you
Initially.
want. Initially, totally.
Well, I'm going to say sometimes you see through those guys, because I mean, obviously,
Sure.
I'm a fitness person, so I'm at the gym constantly, and those guys walk around, and I just see right through them, like
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I'll just like walk around them because they guard the machines almost, and I'm like, stop guarding the machines, you know. So I'll just like walk up and go, "Are you done yet?" And it's funny because then they'll cower down, but they just seriously do. They walk around like.
Yeah.
They own the gym.
All puffed up and peacocking, you know. Yeah, and I mean that's a place too. A gym can be a very intimidating place.
Yeah.
I've had clients come to me over the years, and you know these people, you know, you don't realize that going into a gym is a very intimidating thing for a lot of people. You know, especially you walk into Goals, the mecca of bodybuilding. You're walking in; those doors are huge.
Well, I have. I'm at a private gym right now. But there's a lot of pro athletes there right now because of the situation with COVID. So the owner of the gym has got a big sign. He goes, "Your pro status means shit at my gym. If you just respect the people who are here, get the F out."
I love that.
He's handwritten on there. He goes, "Your pro status means nothing here. Don't be disrespectful. You know, this is one of the few gyms that are open." He goes, "Just don't break the rules." And he's had to have conversations with a couple of guys because they're acting, because they're pros. They're thinking that they can just walk around, and they've kind of been disrespectful to some of the girls there who have, you know, kind of felt intimidated them. I'm not. I'm a weirdo. I don't care. I just ignore them. But it's, you know, they make people feel like they can't use equipment, or they or inappropriate to women. So
Sure.
I'm just glad that he did that. But again, what you're saying though is that it's all kind of an act. You know, it's more of like they're trying to push that out there, but you know, you really can't. I can see right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, women have it so much harder than men sometimes. So, and you're not a weirdo. You're confident in what you do.
Yeah.
Again, you see it as, okay, you're just
No.
peacocking and puffing.
I look at it, you're hogging up the equipment, and you need to, you know, you need to walk. It's funny because I'll just say, how much longer are you going to be there?
Right.
You know, and they don't expect me to do it because I'll just stand there with my arms folded, like, okay, you done yet?
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's not your bench press.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't own that piece of equipment.
I
but-
don't see your name stenciled on the side of it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, one of the biggest things is that I work with a lot of people on, especially younger people, is, listen, learning to clean up your own mess. You do something wrong in your life. We have all known this. It's hard to do. But listen, you make a mess. You get in a fight with your wife, your girlfriend, your boss, your kids, whatever. Something goes wrong or awry. It's so much more important to turn around as quickly as you can and clean that up and apologize. I will never say I'm sorry. I don't like the word. It's kind of a throwaway word to me. And that's things I talk about too. It's a lot about commitment. I want a word that, like, I'm sorry. People say that as like, I'll try. Hey, you got to be here at 10 o'clock. You know, I'll try.
Trying is an excuse to do things.
Exactly. You know, I often, you know, but going back to the point of cleaning up your mess, it is one of the biggest, hardest things, and takes more guts to turn around and go, you know what? I'm really sorry I did that. Please forgive me. Coming from the heart, coming from a loving place to clean that up, and then you're done. Whether they accept it or not, that's on them. You know, whether they forgive you or not, that's on them. But as long as you're working to clean the slate, and you're constantly doing that, and that takes so much more guts than it does to like be a tough man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, getting in the ring and fighting, yes, you require you to be tough and have guts. It does not require you to be just this douchey kind of over the top alpha, you know, nonsense. And I don't see that as an alpha. If you're an alpha is someone that cares about the pack. You know, a wolf pack, the alpha in the wolf pack, he's not trying to belittle the other wolves. He teaches them what to do. He guides them where to go. You know, he protects the pack. That, you know, so, you know, the alpha a-hole we talk about, that's not a true alpha. You know, that's just some guy looking to get, you know, his status next to his buddies, picking on somebody smaller, you know, dealing with women, picking on women, you know, crossing those lines, talking inappropriately, not being a real man. It takes more guts to walk up to a woman and go, hey, man, I really like those shoes. Just want to let you know. And walk away. Not be trying to lay some line
See,
on
that's what I
somebody.
do because, you know, we're in a strange world, but I always did that because,
Yeah.
you know, I would always be, well, who's this black guy coming up? What does he want? Is he trying to pick me up? And I would just say what you just said, and I would walk away. And then they would go like, what? He's not trying to pick me up. Is something wrong with me? And they would come back later and say, don't you want to know more? I'm like, no, you had nice shoes. That's all I just said. You know, I have a lot of women co-hosts. You know,
True
you have nice
compliment.
shoes. Women like that thing, and then I walk away. But I also don't want you to be intimidated that I'm trying
No.
to pick you up because I'm sure it happens all the time.
Well, that's what
really
they got to
it
deal with
is.
that all the time. As a woman, you deal with that all the time. You know, and it doesn't start at like, hey, age 30, this is going to happen. Listen, from age 12 on, man,
Yeah.
dudes are messing with you. You know, I've got a stepdaughter that is now working a Joe job, and you know, she's like, oh my God, men are just horrible. You know, these old men are just kind of just. I'm like, it's okay, just smile and be nice and be confident, and you know, you just have to learn to put your Wonder Woman suit on, and you know, take the bracelets, and you know that you can take as a compliment, or you can go, hey, you know what, ping, ping, and it just bounces off you. Don't let it affect you.
Or you put blinders on, like I learned at a young age. Like I just walk around like this, but sometimes it was to my disadvantage. I remember my dad one time said, you know, he goes, maybe you should be a little nicer, and you, because you know this is probably in high school. Maybe you have a boyfriend if you're nicer, because he goes, you know, other guys look at you and you're like this, you just won't even look at them. But I don't know, that just was my like defense, I guess. And I
It is a
probably
defense.
Don't
still
connect. Don't have eye contact.
I don't have eye contact. I guess.
And that is one of my biggest faux pas with people in the world anyways.
Yeah.
If you're walking around with blondies on, and we're talking from self-protection
Uh-huh.
type place, you know, if you're just kind of like, no, I
Yeah.
know the guys are over there, blah, 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 but if you're just walking that way, it kind of targets you. It lets people know you're not paying attention.
Well, it was more of what I would used to do. I don't do it anymore, but when I was younger, I'd walk around, but I knew it was there, and I'd let them know it was there, but I would give like I don't know, what is the resting bitch face? Like,
Yeah, there you go. I think you just said it. I think you just said it.
you know, I know you're there, but I'm gonna have blind. I'm like, it's kind of like
Yeah.
the blinders, like you, like I put a wall around me,
Yes.
like you can't come into my space.
And that's a good thing.
And it's kind of an energy that I would kind of block
Yeah.
myself around. But then there's people that would want to approach me that I didn't need to put those up. So that's why it's not a good thing. It's a good thing to protect
It is a good
yourself,
thing.
but not to do it all the time, because sometimes there's good people that need to come
Sure.
into your world.
But again,
so,
that
yeah.
comes down to person, place, time,
Yep,
and amount.
exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Hey, you're walking down the street and it's Santa Monica Boulevard
Yeah.
and it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. You're not too worried.
Yeah.
Now, if you're walking past a construction site,
Yeah.
your guard's probably going to go up a little bit.
Well, if I'm walking
You know?
out of the gym by myself at night, I'm going to have that.
That's a
yeah.
whole different place
Yeah.
to come
Which
from.
is what we're going to come back to.
Yeah.
Casey, I want to go to you, but first I got to say this because obviously restroom kit, you know, Bill, Sonia, Macy, we love these. This is women. It's got panty liners in it, Terry. But it's one of those things where
Thanks, Brian. I like the way you said that.
personal responsibility. That's why it's pink. You know, we've been around it for the longest time. So these things are important these days. We're in a studio. You know, elliptical hand sanitizer, guys. You got to have this.
Yeah.
They've been with us for years now.
That I
we
can't
want
let them
to do
back.
this. We want to actually do this for you, Flex 24. So this show is at 980,000 views. The next 10, 12 days, it's going to be at 1 million views. You
Can I
join
say-
me with 1 million.
For
I
the-
have to
for
say
those aches
something.
and
I do have to
pains.
say something about that product though, because I have some sports.
She found us.
I have
I gave
some-
one to Chris.
I have a shoulder injury from skiing. I put that on my shoulder. It made the pain go away immediately. I pulled my back working out. I used the pad on my back. So that stuff is an amazing product.
That's why I
Yeah.
gave it to Chris.
Yeah,
I asked,
I'm
do you have
dying to
aches and
try it.
pains, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good. I mean, we were on a show in 2018. She was telling me about this. I'm like, what
Well,
is
yeah,
this?
I put the tape on my, because sometimes I have issues with my knee, because getting older, it just happens. You have
Hey, Chris, I would never use any of this
So-
stuff. I'm like, you know how you fight through this stuff? You think
yeah.
you don't need it.
No, I
I'm like,
use it.
Now I use it because it works, guys.
Well, no, I'll wrap my knee with that, before my workout, and
Me too.
it helps my knees. Yeah,
What's in
Yeah.
it that helps besides just being around?
it's all natural products.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all natural.
So let me get.
It's
hand
just
it over
like 4
to-
things
yeah.
in there.
Well,
There's-
I like to read details.
Yes.
yeah, I know the details earlier. There are the 4 things. There's a camphor, menthol, and
Yeah.
things like that.
It works.
There is a list at the bottom of organic root compounds
Well, there we
that
go,
are
yeah.
that are working in that. So That's probably what you're getting more of. The camphor and the menthol help heat it up and cool it off, and that kind of dulls the pain. But I'm interested to try it because of the list of the other ingredients. Because camphor, menthol are in like every, Tiger Balm, whatever. That's the
Exactly,
main
the
product.
numbing.
That's the numbing agent. But I'm more interested in the other products or the other contents in there to see what that does. If that's part of helping muscle repair, if it's just
It is actually, yeah.
reducing the swelling.
Well, it helps with, it does help with knee joint pain. So, I mean, it's not arthritis. It's just from overworking my knees from years of working out. So, I can vouch for that.
And
Excellent.
Casey, with that, talk about all the stuff that you worked on, because we hadn't seen you. My God, it's been a year and a half, I
Has it
guess.
been that long?
Yeah, time goes quick. Talk about how you started your company,
Okay.
what you're doing in general, and then this show that you're working on.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. No college, just high school and self-taught. So when you had mentioned, you're like, I was in class and then I had to get into the work and start actually rolling with people or boxing. That's what I've noticed, like through my experience, like that's what counts, or that's what gets you to the place through perseverance, trial and error, isolate a variable, correct one thing, learn, move on. And so with like fashion, it was the same thing. I got to a point where I was making some products, but wasn't doing like jeans, jackets, suits, or anything like that. And I started talking to my vendors and other fashion designers, and I was like, hey, did you go to college? Did you go to FITM? And then one of them just sat me down and said, hey, look, you're already doing more than what they teach in school, because you're doing the practical application, and you're already designing. You come from a more of a foundational manufacturer type versus being a designer engineer. So they tend to be a little bit more ethereal and like, well, we want to design this and sew it from the inside. It's like, well, it's not practical. You can't do it. So I come from the, oh yeah, I get it. You sew this way, okay, you can apply the Swarovski crystals that way. These are the materials. Oh, that material, it folds and bends. That one doesn't. So coming from the practical application of just a blue collar like lifestyle helped me design better and work with manufacturing versus if I would have went to school, learned all the techniques, and then had that also extra, oh, I'm better than you because I have a degree, and then trying to implement my vision on someone who's saying, no, that you just can't make that. Like,
Right.
So when you mentioned that hit home with me. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. So with the fashion, it was that way. And so now it's just, I'm designing things as I like them, and I make things for me and what I think would look attractive on a woman. So I'm not necessarily pulling too much from what's trending or what other big fashion companies have done. It's more of what I feel like in the moment and what I want to see people wearing. And so it's gone very good with Seraph. With that is like the journey of it. I'm like, it's some crazy connections, like just our connection. It's like, okay, well, we met at the GBK gifting suite, and then I had a couple other connections. It's like, I wouldn't be making jackets if I didn't make them for the Disney 30th year Mouseketeers anniversary. And it's like, it's just wild, all the little connections. Like even with like the silver that I put on the zippers or my bracelet, like how I got to the manufacturer today in downtown LA on Hill Street, it's just crazy. But it's these friendships, relationships, the connections, being a kind person, listening, and then all of a sudden you start building these up, and it's like, whoa. It's like, how'd you get that? Well, there's 5 different friendships I had that got me to the point of meeting this manufacturer who doesn't even have a website, or like it's just a cell phone or a landline in a building in the 625 building in downtown LA. So it's like all those connections. If you weren't persevering and going through it, you wouldn't get it. I mean, like quitting early, right?
Yeah.
It's like you reach that first block and you're like, okay, I'm done. But it's that perseverance, that desire within you to say, no, I have a desired outcome. I'm going to get there, but I may be weaving in and out of opportunity and availability to get to my destination.
Talk about how you got the name. How'd you come up with that? And talk about, you got the X on there someplace? Yeah. Talk about that.
All right, cool. So the name is Seraph. Seraph is the highest order of angel and represents light. So part of the company, what I like to do is I like to donate 20% of the net profit to charity. So LA Mission, Wounded Warrior, Water.org, and Destiny Rescue, they pull women and children out of the sex trade, rehabilitate them, and teach them value, and then send them back into the world with confidence. So I'm all about that. I consider myself more of a philanthropic entrepreneur. So
True. And inventor.
Yeah, I got a couple inventions. Got got a trademark and a patent pending with like the sweatband on the hats. So coming from the aerospace industry, working at SpaceX, and prior to that, working at a wind turbine company, helping that company set up and do some crazy stuff with the fiberglass, resin infusion, pre-preg, all the different processes in manufacturing. Like that was the epitome of learning like the school of hard knocks. 19-hour days, constantly putting in the work, working with the teams, bringing that through into the fashion and then into working with SpaceX, same thing. So it's been a wild journey.
How many other people could say they do what you do? And the answer is nobody.
Yeah.
That's what makes you unique. That's why I liked him. So, and Terry and Katarina were there. When I first met you, Casey, I'm like, I like this guy. I love what he's created. But this is just the start of something that I see him doing. I always saw it expanding in a different way. Talk about that jacket for one, and your bandana, which I always love. To me, your trademark is this.
Yeah. So let's see. With the pandemic coming through, I was kind of looking at everything like,
because you had that a hell of a long time before that too.
The bandana was right around the beginning. I was like, well, I don't really want to wear a mask. What else can I do? I'm like, oh, I have French silk. Maybe I'll make a bandana. And then it's kind of funny. I was talking to my brother last night because we were lobster diving. So I also do that.
I love that picture of you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. So anything outdoors, I'm into it. But so I was talking with my brother, and let's see, what was it? With the bandanas, I was like, man, I just wanted to make something that we could use, that was practical, and it came from the jackets.
And it's stylish.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's see. So
And
this
silk.
French silk. So with this jacket, this is so it's French silk. It's the same silk that Chanel uses. Really awesome manufacturer, and build relationship with them as well. They're doing some custom stuff for me with my reoccurring pattern that's on the inside of everything. And people ask me, oh, where'd you come up with that pattern? High on coffee at Starbucks. Like, I just started jotting things down. I'm like, all right, I want to be a premium brand. I want to be like the Chanel of LA. I want to make everything here of the highest quality. Everybody's got like a reoccurring pattern or symbols, logos, emblems, mascots. So I just started drawing and creating my own stuff through there. And then so I line everything with it, and with the hats, it's always underneath. And then same thing with the bracelets on the, the Cuban link. It's got the reoccurring pattern on it. So so everything on here is something that I custom did. I don't just
show your camera that your bracelet.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, so that's 925 silver, made in LA. And then I put diamonds around this little wreath. So this was like the first logo with the eagle, and then I moved on to using the griffin, just because it's like the protector of the city. And then I found out through like coat of arms that griffin also came from the name Casey. So then I'm really good at tie things in. I'm always like looking to see where I could add my name into it. And then my middle name's Douglas, and it means brave. So I don't know. There's a big thing with that. So yeah, even like the stitching, all this is from LA. The zippers are Japanese mechanisms, because it's like, and I had them custom made in Japan from YKK, and then flown over here to do the jackets. And then since I'm extra or premium, what I like to do is just put a silver zipper on it. So also made in LA. So it's been fun. And then so for me, SpaceX has been a big part of my life. It's been a blessing. It's been awesome. Still working there. I took a couple months off to focus on charities and just work through my small businesses, and then doing the TV show about my journey through fashion. But SpaceX is where I came from. It's I've been there 7 years. Super thankful for everything that they provided. And one of the awesome things about SpaceX is that I had 10 years of experience and 5 years in production management, but no college degree. And so if you're in the aerospace industry, no college degree, no hire.
That's not usually a higher thing.
Yeah.
But they saw the potential, and then they also saw the experience. And so that's allowed me the opportunity when in other positions I wouldn't.
And that's what I really
fantastic.
like. I mean, I love people who do that. I always say you could find the janitor. That doesn't mean he's really a janitor. He may be an engineer. He just might be feeding his family right now. But that doesn't mean he's less of anything.
Exactly. You know, it's like Goodwill Hunting, right?
Totally.
Exactly.
Janitor to mathematician.
That's it.
You know, and I've seen that too. Like, we have awesome people who come up from very low positions in the sense of coming from industry, and they do well. The way I say it is, if you're teachable, trainable, retain the information, show up on time, and have a positive attitude, you're good by me. And
That's
so,
almost like martial arts, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. And that's the base of what you're learning.
yeah.
You know?
And so then what I like to do, a tribute to SpaceX, is on all the items that I have, I put an X. So that's my thanks to SpaceX for everything, and you know, it's provided the opportunity and just a crazy ride. It's been insane, you know, going from just launching rockets to landing first stages to sending people to the International Space Station to what's coming up next. So it's been a wild journey. Can't talk crazy detail.
No, you
'cause
can't.
It's all confidential, but yeah, it's been amazing.
When's the last time you chatted with Elon?
Let's see, a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these guys are busy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's somebody that I would love to meet. He fascinates me.
Oh yeah. He's a visionary.
Yes,
There's
yeah.
not too many people like him.
Yeah, he's seriously an idol of mine. I like it. Just I every time he speaks, I'm just like, I gotta listen to what he
Right,
says.
yeah.
You know.
He's got the
Yep.
vision, the motivation, and he knows how to hire the right people.
Chris, when you were working on this TV show, talk about that. Training. For some reason I'm thinking Kingdom, was it Kingdom?
Kingdom, it was Kingdom, yeah.
Talk about
Yeah.
that experience.
You know, again, I didn't actually work on the TV show. I worked with Matt Lauria, who was one of the stars of the
True.
TV show. You
But
know,
I look at it this way.
Well,
I see what you did with him.
Here's the other thing too. I got to be on set quite a bit just to go hang around and be with Matt. Matt brought me on. I did some extra work, and I got to meet Joe Stevens, which is awesome guys. All the guys on there are fantastic. You know, the experience is very similar to what he's talking about. You know, it's a journey. I could have never thought that, oh, I'm going to meet this person and this is going to happen. I met Matt, and he was looking to do a Broadway show, and he needed to do some boxing for it, for his for the monologue and for his part, and he was just still auditioning. And we started going from there. And after that, you know, years go by and we start training other stuff. We start doing kickboxing, Muay Thai, that type of stuff. Next thing you know, he's like, man, I got this role. I mean, what do you think about this? We started training for that. I mean, it was a good push. I mean, he got a lot of amazing stuff out of that. Kingdom was one of the top shows when it was out. Why they didn't renew it, I don't know. You know, because anybody that's ever watched Kingdom is like, wow, that's a fantastic show. Why didn't they do it? I'm like,
And even just walk down to Venice where it was.
Oh yeah,
Just like you can't get any more real than that.
You can't get more real than going down into deep Venice and understanding that, you know. And again, for most people that don't live out here, you know, they don't see it the way we do. You know, it's part that person is that person in the TV show. You know, Matt to me is just a friend. We've gone and seen fights. I've been to his. Where we go to? I think it was his wife's mom's house one time, and you know, I had this amazing. I think it was blueberry pie she made us. You know, homemade blueberry pie is just one of those experiences you can't even talk about. It just shows up, you know, through these great times, meeting people, again, connection.
Yeah.
You know, and being true to yourself, being true to what you do, being honest, you know, being forthright, all the things that make you a good person do show up in your life, you know. It may not be a monetary value, but man, the experience is really what we're talking about anyways. You know, it's always about the experience. It's always about the journey. We do get sidetracked on the fact that, oh, I'm not here, I'm not there, I'm not this guy, I'm not that guy. Who cares?
Well, like Casey was saying, you know, you meet certain people through different things. It's almost like 6 degrees of separation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And it takes that to go that. Give you a social media website.
Social media website is Christopher at conquestfit.com or conquestfit or armorupcombatives.com.
Casey, talk about what you can on your latest show.
Okay,
what you're
sure.
working on.
Yeah, I want to
Just lining up right now for the LA mission, we're going to do a walkthrough. One of the things I had kind of like the overall vision of the show is to use the exposure of A-list celebrities to highlight worthy charities. So if we're highlighting the charities that they support or that I support or that people have mentioned that are really doing good in the community and moving the ball forward for, you know, just the overall humanity, environment, or any other aspect of helping, like that's what I want to be a part of. So in the last couple things we shot, and this is what's crazy, it's like I had this random connection with a guy from another celebrity gifting suite event, but it didn't work out. It got canceled. It was a 2-day in Coachella. It got canceled the second day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent $5,000 for this event, gave away 200 hats that are $200 a piece, like, and nothing worked. And then this one guy ended up being a connection, and he said, "Hey, I can get you backstage in Miami for this. Was that the Super Bowl? That was like February." So I had a camera crew from doing another thing where I did a Kickstarter that flopped. But I was like, ooh, I really like the cinematographer. Hey, you want to team up with me? And so I took the cinematographer and his assistant, and we flew over to Miami. I'm like, I don't know, but let's see what happens.
Oh, so that's why you were in Miami when I called you.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So then we flew out there. First day, we get into the backstage, and all the A-list celebrities canceled, all the performers. And I was like, no way. I just spent crazy money flying these guys across the country. And like, yeah. And then it rained, and I was just like, no way. And
That's why. That was the day I left.
Oh yeah.
I felt strange, and I was telling Terry, you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
You're not
I didn't
being
get
here."
to go. And I was like,
She was so upset. And I was
You
like,
did
"You're
not.
not missing anything." She goes, "No, my friends are there." "No, Terry, you're not missing anything."
Yeah.
You didn't.
And so, yeah. So then that morning, so we had mojitos that night. So yeah, we had a bunch of mojitos, and I was just like, dude, this is
It got
crazy.
better.
I thought we were gonna,
It got better.
And so we're sitting that morning, and I'm waiting on my call from my connection if they're even gonna do it the next day, because I want to film something and get some interviews with some of these artists and throw some jackets on them like that, trying to push the brand forward and shoot the behind scenes of it. And so he goes, hey, look, there's nothing that people like more than you going through the trials and errors to
Yep,
getting to
absolutely.
that. If we
That's
just
true.
give you the highlights of everything going well in your life, people can't relate. People like to root
It's
for
about
the
that
underdog.
story.
Yeah. And so
And
I'm like,
that journey.
let's shoot it in the rain by the pool. So we shot it in the rain and did a recap of how everything went bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like there was.
But that's what makes it interesting, though.
Yeah.
That's great reality, because
But
it's
that-
true.
Yeah,
But that
makes it
gives-
relatable.
That gives people hope that when they fail, that
exactly.
Yeah,
they
it
get
does.
And
Truly.
so, yeah, and one of my like mottos now, because my brother's like, Casey, you're spending so much crazy money on this. And it's like, you could have bought a house. I'm like, yeah, I could have bought a house, a decent one in a nice area. I didn't have to move out to the desert for it. But I spent that money on the business for the development. And they're like, well, how do you justify it? And I was like, well, I consider it failing upward. Everything that I've done that has
Absolutely.
failed has still got me to a better connection. So if I keep continuing those connections, I'll get to success.
That's a great way to put it.
So failing upward.
Yeah,
Boop.
that's
And
it, man.
as long as you're actually going upward. I mean, you could be some crazy cycle of,
Sure.
failing upward. It's like, no, you need to stop and try something different. But for me, yeah, it's been better connections and just more diverse connections and communities I'm getting involved with. So with the show, we shot that, we flew back, and I met one guy named Michael Blackson, a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
And so then when I started making the bandanas and I lost connection with him, I was like, I got his cell phone number. It's not even like a manager or agent. I'm like,
Exactly.
yo, I made these bandanas. You want one? And like 10 seconds later, bring one to my house. I'm like, oh. So then I dropped one off and we started building the relationship. And then I was like, hey, do you mind if I bring my camera crew, do a little interview on you, and then, maybe do a custom suit for you? He's like, no problem. Go to his penthouse in Beverly Hills and hanging out with him, or was that Hollywood? And I was like, whoa, this is a super cool guy. I'm like, hey, what's your story? And I just love his story. It just came, the way I put it, because he came from like a real grassroots tribe in Africa to a penthouse in Hollywood. So I'm like, mud hut to mansion, man. Like, you came from nothing,
To
immigrated to America in a rough neighborhood in Jersey, and then came up as a comedian. Like, dude, what is your story? And he's giving back to his village with helping schools on the street.
That's
I'm like,
really good.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to capture in the show. I just want to be able to interview these people who made it. Okay, what's your story? How'd you get here? What's going next? Or what's next for you? And then, where do you give back? And so as long as they give back, like, I think that's beautiful. That's also inspiring for career-wise. If other people are looking to be a comedian, well, this is his route. And then also, like, how he's giving back. And so then the giving back, like, whoa, giving back, like, you're literally going to build schools for the community that you came from in Africa. Like, that warms my heart, and
That's
I think
huge.
it's inspiring for other people. And I think as people, if you're not giving back, you're helping in a way, you're just feeding in. And to grow as people, I think it's about giving back, and it's about in any way you can do it. I mean, it feels good. I have one thing that I do, I call it the Cheeseburger Challenge. So and if you don't like cheeseburgers, you don't think they're healthy, then get something that's healthy. and get five of them. So, but for me, I go to McDonald's, I'd be like, I'd like 5 cheeseburgers. They're like, okay. And then I just go to homeless people and approach them with respect. I don't go, here's a cheeseburger. I'm like, hey, would you like one? Because so you honor them, right? You honor
Yeah,
everybody.
they're people.
And then they'd be like, thank you. And I started doing that a bunch in Long Beach. I'd be like, I'll take 50 cheeseburgers, please. And they're like, 50 cheeseburgers coming up. McDonald's is just like lining up everything. So it's a good production line. So I'll get the 50. I'll go over and to like Civic Center in downtown Long Beach. And I'm just handing them out and asking them if people want them. And I had a moment where I was handing one and the guy held it and then grabbed me and said, thank you so much. And there was a point that we had talked about and it hit me. I'm like, whoa, I didn't think about this. But there's shame associated with being homeless that they feel. And they don't feel that they're good enough to go into an establishment to get food a lot. So there's this shame as they walk in. And so for them, he said, the fact that you went and got it and then brought it to me was even more of a...
Than giving him money.
Yeah. And so it's like those little things like, dang, man.
You know, so in the universal point of view, and me practicing Buddhism, all those causes that you're making, those are really good, especially in this time of need now. Give you social media links.
Cool. All right, so serifdesign.com, Serif Fashion Design on Instagram, or Casey Douglas Wright.
And you got some really, really great stuff. And I'll never forget, I went back, I went back and I think I took, Terry came the second day. I'm like, Terry, you have to see what's here.
He did.
And I was really good because I was looking at the hat in my storage. I was like, wow.
He's got beautiful stuff.
Look at that one.
That I love. That is gorgeous.
55,000 Swarovski crystals.
Holy
it's
wow.
$25,000. I just do custom ones of these if people ask. But yeah, so.
That is gorgeous.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Show that, put that right in that camera. Bring it up right, yeah.
Ooh.
So yeah, everything hand done in Los Angeles. And then on this one, I'm like, you know what? It's not fancy enough. Let me do something else. So I put D to F colored diamonds, VVS quality. And since I used to work in the diamond industry, I know what I'm talking about.
Wow.
So, so I got that on both the zippers. So if a celebrity athlete or someone who just wants a $25,000 jacket, this is where they get it.
Listen to what he just said. Someone who wants it.
Someone wants it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to
But let's
think
be
it.
clear, we live in that kind of town.
You know what though? I want I want a bikini like that for a fitness show.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, you'll have to talk to my girlfriend Tara because she does swimsuit comps. And
Yeah,
she's like,
that's-
I want
yeah.
to do this competition, Swarovski.
Yeah.
crystal. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, our
go
suits
for
already
it.
Swarovski anyway, but I mean, that would be like, that's
Do
just
it in
amazing.
camo?
Yeah, I actually have a camo one that a friend made mine, but it's not as glam as that. Put it that
I'll give you my
way.
number.
And so Linda Steele says hi because she loves the hat that you get.
Okay,
Because
cool.
her fans are always loving those things. So Casey's been on a couple of Zooms. So you talked to Sinbad. He's coming in. I just have to wait for his schedule because he's kind of getting out in the road here and there, and it's kind of difficult. Still strange for a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
Performing. It's weird, the stories I'm hearing from them. But I couldn't be more happier than what you've been doing. And Eileen liked you.
Yeah,
and someone, I think it was Keith on the Tatnus show.
Yep.
Oh my God, he loved you.
Yeah,
So-
I had him roll it.
But it was fun because he's Keith McClory, MMA fighter. Out of Canada.
Okay.
So we Casey was on his show, and I went on the
he's a
show
good guy.
after you, like a couple of days after you. She's like, "Oh, I just had Casey on." I'm like, "Casey, right?" He goes, "Yeah, I love that guy."
I'm networking.
Yeah, no, he is. But again, that's what it's about. So I wanted everybody to do that. So it was one of those things where you hadn't been forgotten. And then my friend Lumi Charge Balaji, he was going to be here with his foldable lamps that I love, that I take with me. And you were on his show.
Yeah.
You had that in Nashville.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I don't go anywhere without it. No, it's like this.
I
It
remember, 'cause I
folds
was-
down. I mean,
yeah.
Casey, you saw it, but he was going to be here, and I wanted to keep it to a minimum of still safety because he was having things where he was. So he's going to come back, and I'll get everybody together because I wanna get me, you, Sinbad,
Yeah.
and Balaji in because he's an inventor too. He's got some great things, Chris. He's got a lamp like this. He's got a speaker, Bluetooth you take with you on the road, you travel with, and it's like a nightlight in your hotel.
Oh,
and
nice.
it recharges 2 phones. And he created this. So I wanted to have him and Sinbad on because Sinbad is a
he clearly
technology
needs some
guy.
crystals on it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Want some Swarovski?
Got some Swarovski on
So
it, baby.
with that, all right. So Terry, you've been doing a lot of TikTok videos lately.
Yes.
Which I couldn't be happier about. Keeps her away from politics. And but you've been getting the views. So here's the thing, and I
Yeah.
keep telling people this. Terry she's been with us for 5 years. She has over 3 million views. And I haven't even had enough time to go back to count the
Thank you.
numbers. With all the stuff that you've done. So talk about your TikTok videos and talk about the show coming up.
Well, the TikTok stuff is because I was bored and I was trying to, I was trying to find other avenues to entertain myself.
But here's the reason why she got on it, because she was fighting with people on Facebook.
Okay.
That's why.
Well, okay.
And I would go, Terry, and she would stop.
Okay,
I have the freedom of speech. That's what she said. I have a right.
Therefore, TikTok, no response.
Well,
Can't talk back.
Anyway, I was, actually, people can be really nice or really mean on there because they just put whatever comments they want.
of course.
But you know what you were saying though, and because I was gonna say this too. Along with your mistakes, your haters make you better too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people will let those haters go. I'm not gonna do this anymore. Where I've learned, you just keep hating me because you're a fan if you're watching me. So that's what we have to look at, because negative press, positive press is not a bad thing. So people need to get a better mindset about that. So I've kind of turned that around. So when people say stuff, I don't care. I guess now I'm just a very strong-willed person, so I like myself, and so I kind of sometimes, I like myself, so that's all that matters, which I think that's why I'm successful, because I do that, but then, sometimes I gotta, zip it.
It's not easy. It's not easy being nonstop.
But back to the TikTok stuff. Yeah, so I was missing red carpets. I was missing, getting dressed up. And I've always loved comedy. So I'm kind of finding that I am funny, that I can make funny videos.
I do have to admit, they are quite funny. She sends me links, Chris, Casey, and I'm like, what is this?
I've been able to experiment with my humor on there, and then I can, I'm going to start talking about, because I'm doing Fitness Universe in November in Vegas, so I'm going to start talking about my fitness journey on there. And, as you said before, I've been afraid to start posting stuff out now because I'm not where I want to be on stage, where I'll be 8 weeks later.
Yeah.
But I need to kind of show people the transformation, because I'm one of those people, I can transform my body really quickly because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
But, but I get this thing in my head I don't look like, I'm on stage ready now, because that's what people expect, and I got to get out of that, because then they see the journey. But the whole
super important.
But the whole TikTok thing has been more to, kind of do comedy, kind of stay positive, because there's so much negative energy in the universe right now, whether it be the right or the left or in the middle. People are just angry and they're mean and they're just horrible. And I'm saying everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, try to put myself, my mind in a positive space and not get sucked into the negative energy, which is making Brian happy and I'm happy, and and
I couldn't be happier.
I came to a conclusion with that too. It's like, as being a philanthropist and entrepreneur, it's like you could take sides, you could take the middle, whatever.
Yep.
But it's like, for me, I was like, you know what? I want $1 from each side
Yep.
to help people in need. So
Exactly.
philanthropist, not an activist.
Yep.
We got a couple minutes left.
nice
Chris,
distinction.
talk about training women. Why is that important?
Which type of
And
training?
how you doing?
Which type of training? We talking
Basic,
fitness
simple training.
Just training.
We talking like fitness training, or we talking
No.
We're talking about
self-protection?
Self-protection.
Self-protection. Listen, above everybody else, women need self-protection training. I really mean that. They're inundated constantly by gross negligence on the male part. They've got to have tough armor to succeed. They've got to be able to succeed in a man's world. I hate to say that. It's not an equal issue. It'd be great if it was. Number one thing we always talk about is awareness training. Listen, know where you are.
Awareness.
Awareness is your number one skill, whether you're a guy or a girl. The funny thing is what I talk about women, it's the same thing I teach men. Men have a whole thing that they think they can fight and they think they can handle whatever comes their way, which is such a BS kind of thing.
Yeah.
Most guys have never really dealt with this stuff. And we're not talking about fighting. We're talking about actual, real world, horrible violence. Let's be clear. The word violence is the issue. Okay? So again, with women, number one thing, being aware of your surroundings at all times. Not being a rabbit. How you walk through your life is a big thing. If you're walking around, you're looking everywhere, and you're you've just targeted yourself as the scare rabbit, your prey. Okay? As opposed to where she's coming from, it's a much clearer thing. She's got a clear confidence about herself. When she walks around, she knows where she's going. She walks into a gym, she can be okay with that. So awareness training is number one. Know your surroundings. Know what belongs, know what doesn't belong. It's Sesame Street. There's a car in front of your house that doesn't belong there. Just check it. Just know that it doesn't belong there. It's probably going to be gone in a couple hours. Outside of that, we start talking about real simple things. Most things they deal with is simple grabs. You know, and I don't believe in like simple escapes. I mean, there's a lot of things. I just turn a wrist and it'll pop out. And you just do this. One of my biggest things when I watch TikTok, when I watch Instagram, is these videos where, oh yeah, you just grab the guy, he just lets go of you.
That's
I'm like,
not.
it doesn't happen that easy. When somebody grabs you, there's an intent, and that's the number one thing that you don't see in these videos. Is again, when somebody grabs you, what's his intent? He's not going to try to just pull you along.
No, he's gonna hurt you.
He's going to grab you, try to turn your back, try to choke you out, and again, you're going to pull a hand off and you're going to think you're just going to get away. People don't just stop attacking you because you got a hand away from them.
Yeah.
And I don't advocate all the time running because most guys can run faster than most girls I know. So having a clear, simple plan.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I mean, this is just what I do. This is just out of instinct. Like, when I walk the car, I always have my key in the middle of my hand here so that if somebody comes, I can go, right
Straight and
for the
simple.
eye. So, I mean, I actually, like, I don't really want to get into the score story, but my ex-husband put me in the hospital. But it happened once, and it never happened again, and I left him. But it happened because I wasn't prepared for it, and it wasn't. But so now I have a natural instinct to, like, if somebody's I have an instinct to go like this. I was carrying my keys like this to the car. I mean, I do know I need more training, but I've got the instincts at least to,
The instinct starts you there, and a lot of things we're talking about, even just you throwing your hands up, things like that, that's called a flinch or startle response or a defense posture. So if you watch any of these crime drama shows, they're always talking about, they're looking at the dead body like, well, they got defensive wounds. That's because you're turning your hands out in a way. That's the only bad thing, because where are all your veins and all the stuff you don't want?
Just open them
It's
right.
all out here. And these are simple things.
Yeah, I mean,
you really want, again, depends on what's going on.
It's because I've been attacked that I
Simple.
think that I've gotten more like a reflex to it. So I mean, again, I do want to take more training to
And like I
make
tell
sure
people,
that
there's a lot of cool things you put in a keychain. I've got some people that have the kitty cat keychain, which I really love.
seen
And
that,
I don't
little
have
spike
that
thing.
with me. It's a little different one. It's actually plastic, fits in your hands. Some of those are illegal.
Yeah.
So some of them you can't take
In
on a
Los
plane.
Angeles, yeah.
Anywhere. You can't take them on a plane. You can't, because they are too pointy, too big. There's one called the kitty cat keychain. I wish I had one with me because I could show that from Sensei Spice Crosby. She makes those, and those are fantastic.
I gotta have her on a show. Yeah,
She'd be amazing to have a show. And she and another friend of mine, Jennifer Silverstein, do teach women empowerment.
Yeah.
They do that stuff. But like I said, I want to keep it simple. I want to train you to have the right reactions at the right time, because you're not going to get another shot. And none of it. I'm talking simple versus easy.
Yep.
There is no easy. There is simple. But again, once you have to do that, we now have to deal with your stress inoculation in that moment. So when somebody grabs you, making sure that you do the right thing at the right time in the right moment, not misfire, because you'll get a hormone dump and your body's going to go from 75 heartbeats a second, minute, to 150, 160 in 5 or 10 seconds. You're going to adrenalize. And like I said, always understand that when the bad guy's coming after you, he's already adrenalized.
Yeah.
So his system's gone into hyperdrive, overdrive, so his pain sensors are down. He's ready for action. You're not. They're looking for prey. Why are tourists always attacked? Because they're always looking around. They're easy targets. Number one, don't make yourself an easy target.
I was gonna say, give you social media links how they can reach out and learn more protection from you.
You can reach me at conquestfit.com or armorupcombatives.com, either on Instagram or on Facebook.
And Casey, anybody who wants to reach out, because not everybody can have this. It's certain people, but that doesn't mean that not anybody could have it. It's just the right person.
This is the way I see it. Not everybody's gonna have the full line of Louis Vuitton, Yves Saint Laurent, or Gucci, but you want that one item that makes you feel good.
Yep.
So for me,
Nice.
it's like if you want that one item, it's like my starting cost is $2,000 for the jacket, and then it goes up from there. But if you're like, you know what, I'm gonna wear that thing every time I go out, and that's what makes me feel good, then awesome, buy it. But if you're like, that's a crazy price, go to Target. I don't care. It doesn't offend me that you don't want to spend that on my jacket.
No, it's because it's what you put into it.
Yeah.
Love,
Yes,
care,
yeah.
and then
Yeah,
it's
it's
about
handmade.
exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, so you can find the jackets or any other my items that I sell at seraphdesign.com. And then, Instagram is Seraph Fashion Design. And my personal is Casey Douglas Wright. And then we're working on the names for the show. It's going back and forth, talking with my executive producer tonight. We gotta go have some dinner and figure out what we want to do for name. But yeah, so right now I'm calling it Fame and Fashions. but it may change.
But
Yeah, keep us posted on that, because that'll be interesting. We'll bring your producer on.
Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah. Website one more time.
Okay, serapdesign.com. SERAPH design.com.
Okay, we gotta leave you wearing your mask.
Okay, here we go.
Because I love this.
You know, this is really good at the bank. I make withdrawals very fast. They don't even ask for the account number. They say, I would like $1,000.
Terry?
Terry Marie Nonstop on all platforms, and my website is Terry Marie Official. There you go.
And this is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More. I want to thank Sensei Hicks, Casey Wright, obviously Nonstop. We're at the Mike House Studios in Hollywood, California. So I have to always leave everybody, if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it, right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
We will see you next week.